Hi, I'm Diane Allen, and welcome to This Is Me. It feels so good to be back with you. We have persevered through some challenges, but by the grace of God, prayers, and help from family and friends, we are still standing after our household battled with COVID. On today's show, I want to share our experience with COVID and how it has affected our lives and altered our priorities. And joining me today to discuss my topic is my husband and best friend, Bishop Bruce Allen. We will be sharing our experience with COVID. So, welcome, hon. I want to thank you again for agreeing to come on the show. And it's always been a pleasure having you and you sharing with us and my viewers your take on the topics. So, today I want to talk about our experience with COVID, how it has really affected our lives and altered some of the priorities in that we have. So again, welcome.
Well, it's good to be back. Of course, I enjoy being on the show, and it's good to be back. It's been a while since we've
Yes.
actually done a show, in all
Yes, it
honesty.
has.
So I got to tell you, it's nice to be back once again. And it is an interesting topic that we're going to be talking about today because we are looking at our encounter with COVID-19, as it's called,
Yes.
and how we kind of battled through this and made it out to the other side by the grace of God. So, but it's good to be with you again.
And it's always good to have you on the show. So I thought maybe a good place to start is that, irregardless to you take all the precautions that the CDC and the doctor, as far as washing your hands, social distancing, um, you know, wearing the mask, and all those other precautions that was recommended to us, that this virus still can find its way to your doorstep, and it did for us. And I'm not saying don't take the precautions, because you're supposed to. We all should, but even taking those precautions, COVID can still find a way to you.
It's true. And again, as you said, the hand washing, the hand sanitizer, the mask, and if someone has it, keeping that social distancing. All of that is an important part of trying to protect ourselves and others as well. From COVID. Uh, but yes, it can still find its way to you. Oftentimes, someone outside of your home can bring it in. And, in our case, our grandchild, and oftentimes you don't know you have it.
Right.
And you can bring it in because you don't really feel any effects of it, and you come in contact with, you come into the house, and then the people within the house become contaminated with it. So in our case, that's how it happened. And unbeknownst, I don't, she didn't realize that she had come in contact with someone who had it. And for her, it wasn't much at all. It's a little
Right.
cough and a little,
Headache.
headache, and basically she, 18 years old, she went through it without much problems at all. But it affected both of us in different ways. But yes, you can take all the precautions and you can still actually come in contact with the virus. This is why it's important for people to realize that when you're in your travels going back and forth, especially if you're younger and you're living at home or whatever the case may be, or if you're a spouse or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be, that when you go in and out, you want to make sure you take as many precautions as you can to protect yourself as well as others, and also to protect the people within your household so that
Yes.
they won't mess around and contract the virus.
So it's really imperative that we all take every precaution, and even especially the younger generations who may not feel that because of youth they are excluded from this virus, but we know that they're not. And so, it can be easily spread from person to person.
Yeah, and once it comes to your household, pretty much it's hard for other people in the household not to contract it.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, when someone comes in, they don't even realize they have it.
Right.
And so even when you get it at first, you might not realize that you even have it, and then suddenly the symptoms start showing up, and then you realize that something's wrong. You know, I think I got, and it doesn't really hit you right away.
Right.
You know, that it's COVID because when I first started feeling symptoms, I thought it was something else.
Yes.
I didn't even say to myself, "Oh wow, I think I have COVID."
Right.
And I was telling you that, well, you know, I think I'm this or this, or I guess I'm making some pains, and maybe working out or doing the things that I normally do. Maybe that's what the problem is, but I didn't really stop to think that, wow, you know, it's actually COVID until other
Right.
symptoms started showing up.
And I was the same way, especially for me, it's because I had gotten the vaccine. So for me, I thought maybe it was symptoms because I got the vaccine, not
Yeah.
knowing that
Yeah.
it was COVID. So next, I want to talk about how this virus reacts or affects everyone differently. The way it affected you and the way it affected me, and as you said, as our granddaughter, was totally different from person to person.
Yeah, that's true. It does have a way of affecting people different. And I guess it's based on a number of factors. I'm not a doctor, but I'm assuming we're different people with different immune systems and a whole host of other things that can make us individuals. And yeah, you can have, for instance, our granddaughter who really didn't have much effect from it at all, really, except a little cough and a headache, and that's pretty much it. You know, she was pretty much able to just keep on, doing. But of course, we all quarantined once we
Right.
realized that we had this. We all quarantined ourselves at that point. But for me, when it hit me, again, I thought maybe it was something else. Didn't really think it was COVID. And then other symptoms started coming up.
Yeah.
And I mean, I started feeling worse, getting worse. Then the fever comes, and I didn't do a lot of coughing like a lot of people that I've heard who contracted COVID. Even our granddaughter, they tended to have a cough. I didn't really have much of a cough. I didn't lose my sense of taste like other people that I know lost their sense of taste,
Yes.
but everything I ate or drank had this terrible, nasty
Yeah.
taste to it. And I did lose my appetite. I didn't want to drink fluids or anything because everything tasted so nasty, no matter what it was. And the fever, the up and down with the
Yeah.
fever, and that was a battle in itself. We did go to the emergency room when I really started feeling pretty bad to see what was going on. And they did the test, and I was diagnosed with COVID. And the thing about it, I was trying to get the shot.
I know, I remember.
And before I could get the shot, I wound up I get contracting the virus instead. And in the hospital, they did not diagnose it as COVID. But my lungs were clear. My oxygen level was at 98 and 99%, so that was really good.
Yes, it was.
And so I didn't have to stay in the hospital. I was able to come home, and I'm so grateful that I was able to come
Yeah.
back home. And of course, we quarantined ourselves at that point in time, and then we battled it, at home.
Yeah.
Whereas your experience with it was somewhat different.
Yeah, it was different and similar. For me, I think at first I thought, like I said, because I had gotten the Johnson and Johnson one shot, when I started feeling symptoms, I thought it was maybe just reaction from the vaccine. Only to come to find out when we took you to the hospital, and they informed me that because the vaccine was not in my system long enough, at least 2 weeks, I was not fully vaccinated. So that's why I still came down with the virus. Although the doctor did mention that because I got the vaccine, maybe I would not feel the blunt effect
Yeah,
of the of the virus,
yeah, full blunt. Yeah,
of the virus.
yeah.
And for me, I mean, I did get the fever. I got a cough.
Yes, yeah, you
My
did.
sense of taste was gone, and a little congestion. Um, but those are my symptoms, and it was not comfortable at all.
Yeah, it's not. I can remember being tired all the time. I was extremely tired. I had no energy,
Yes.
no strength. I was weak. It was even difficult to even get up and try to walk around, which I, kept trying to do, of course. But it really kind of it put me down pretty hard.
Yeah.
And not as hard as it did maybe other people, but harder than some people.
Right.
And and I was able to weather the storm, but it seemed like it was just going on and on and on. 1 week, 2 weeks, and oftentimes people would go through it maybe a week or two and they'd be fine. But for me, it lasted for
Yeah.
about a month. It seemed like it was never going to
Going to
come to an
end.
end with the weakness, the tiredness, the no energy, no strength, and so it was a bit of a battle.
Yeah, recovery time is different from person to person. For me, it was about 2 weeks. For my granddaughter, I think it was about a week,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
14
that's
days was really like the quarantine time that they
right.
give you, that you have to stay in.
Yeah,
And so basically 2 weeks. But after a week, she was doing so much better than what we were. So even with COVID, from person to person, recovery time does vary, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And for you, it was longer. For me, after the 2 weeks, I was basically, pretty much recovered from that,
yeah.
So I do want to talk about maybe the things that were helpful during our experience with COVID, um, while we had the virus. And one of the things was basically staying in contact with family and friends who came over, especially
Yeah.
our son and daughter. They came over and dropped off food. We called and made delivery from grocery stores, staying in contact with our healthcare provider, our
Yes, yes,
doctor,
yes.
her office. They, once we informed them, they were constantly calling if we needed medication to help us with congestion or something to help us breathe better. They were there to make sure we got those prescriptions. And also, they did have a hotline that we could call every day to report our how we were doing, how
Yeah.
our registering our temperature, if you were getting better, if you were getting
Hmm.
worse, and those things were very helpful. I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Having our children actually go out and we could order food and from the supermarket they would go and pick it up for us and bring it to the back patio and either call us or text us, let us know it's there. That was a big help, as far as that was concerned, and so being able to be in touch with our primary healthcare provider. She was great through the whole thing,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Staying on top of everything and being in touch with us, and we had access directly to her, which was a big help as well. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And of course having family and friends also, keeping us in their prayers
Yes.
and so all of those things were a big help. And then you, you know, being there for me because and I was kind of unable to do a whole lot, but so I'm grateful to God for you, you being there and being there for me, and when I wasn't able to really, I couldn't even make a meal for myself. That's how You know, it's how bad it was. So, but you've always been there. So I'm so grateful to God
We're
for
there
you.
for each other.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Unfortunately, during that time, I wasn't much help to you, but you were tremendous, tremendous help to me, and I appreciate that so much.
Anytime. On a previous episode of This Is Me, I was had a topic called "Staying Spiritually Fit" with my guest, Dr. Monica Dawkins Smith, and I must say that episode we discussed how staying spiritually fit can help us in trying and difficult times. And that really ministered to me. I went over that episode many times during this period because for me that was a very trying and difficult times. And many of the things that we discussed on that episode, it was like I was living them. You know, how can you deal with, you know, challenges and how you're going to face those challenges? What are you going to fall back on in those trying
Yeah,
times?
yeah.
And we specifically talk about that COVID wall. Dr. Monica, she said, what are you going to do if when you hit that COVID wall? How are you going to get through that? You know, and that episode really ministered to me, and I really had to say, you know, this time it's time to put what you, into practice, what you preach, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so staying spiritually fit really it was a great value to me when you're going through trying times. So I want to thank Dr. Smith, Reverend Smith, for coming on and doing that episode because it really ministered to me. So if you really have a chance to maybe go back, watch that episode, because we don't know what we're going to face from day to day. But how you go through things and
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
fall back on to help you push yourself through whatever you're facing is really, really important, and on how you're going to deal with stressful situations. And staying spiritually fit will help you. You'd like to
Yeah,
say anything?
yeah. I mean, without a doubt, I think about that show as well. I taped that episode for you guys when you did that, and there was a lot of good meat in that episode. You know, staying spiritually fit, and maybe some of the viewers might want to look for that episode and tune into it because there were a lot of helpful things in that
Yes, it
episode that can
was.
help us when we go through things in life. Life is filled with uncertainties. Let's be honest. So we don't know what's going to happen from one day to the other. In fact, we don't know what's going to happen from one moment to the next. And so life is filled with uncertainties. And it's easy to say how we will deal with something that's not happening to us.
Right.
I think sometimes when people look at people who may be going through and they may feel they're not going through it the way they would go through it.
Right.
But then you don't know if you haven't been there.
Amen.
You know, so it's one thing to talk about how you would handle it and how strong you would be. It's another thing to actually live through it and to that's when you find out how you really will deal with it and handle it. That's where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
And so we can talk about our faith and trusting in God and all of these things, but when things really hit us and out of nowhere, and sometimes things can hit us pretty hard. That COVID hit me pretty hard. I'll be honest
Very
with you.
hard.
And you're dealing with a lot of uncertainties when it comes
Right.
down to the virus. I mean, was I going to make it through, or was I going to be someone who succumbed to it? I had no idea of what the outcome was going to be, but somewhere along the line, I just came to the point where I just really just trusted God. I didn't know whether I was going to make it or not. At some point, my prayer was, Lord, just give me the strength to make it through it. And not so much heal me and get me out of this, but just give me the strength to make it through this.
Yes.
Because life is filled with so many different trials and tribulations, and that was just one of the trials and in life, that can bombard us. And perseverance and prayer, and we can't give up. we have to cling to that hope and just put it in God's hands. I guess for me, whatever way it turned out, I would just have to put it in God's hand and just take it from there.
So that's why I want to start talking about how the COVID changed our priorities in life. And for me, it changed for me. It was putting things, time, effort into what really matters, what's really important, leaving trivial things behind, you know.
Yeah.
Also, for me, it was slow down, take time for real self-care, because sometimes we are so busy caring for others that we forget about taking real care for ourselves. So, and really try to value and appreciate each other, value life and those people that we love, you know. Enjoy life, you know, and just realizing how life is so short, and that, you know, we need to take time for things that really matter. And
yeah, I think you're right. At some point, we have to learn how to maybe reevaluate life, reevaluate our outlook on life, reevaluate the things that are really important. Because sometimes we get those things a little, you know, mixed up a little bit.
Yeah, we do.
You know, where we put so much emphasis on things that, you know, that don't matter, and we neglect the things that do. And it's interesting because most times what's neglected is two things: either the people that we love, or we neglect ourselves.
Amen to
You
both
know,
of that.
as you said it, caring for ourselves, our own health and well-being, we can neglect that. And so we have to bring a balance into this. You know, you learn to appreciate the things that are important more, because fact of the matter is, life is uncertain. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, neither you or anybody else.
Right.
I mean, each day that we get to wake up and get up and move forward with our day, I mean, we have to take that as a gift. And the question is, do we value these opportunities, these God-given opportunities that we have? And do we really appreciate and value the people that are around us? Sometimes we take people for granted because they're there and they're doing things for us, and we just assume that this is what they're supposed to do. But they're doing those things, you know, from the love in their hearts.
Yes.
But do we appreciate those people, and do we appreciate the things that they do for us? My heart goes out to so many people, because through this COVID pandemic, so many people lost loved ones.
Yes.
And my heart goes out for them. And so we have to realize that we don't know how long somebody's going to be with us, or how long we're going to be with someone else.
Yes. Yeah.
So can we just appreciate that person, and not just secretly inside, but let them know, you know, how much we appreciate them. Let them know how much we love and we care for them, and appreciate the things that they show them, you know, in words and in deed.
Indeed. I want to thank our guest, my husband, Bishop Bruce Allen, for coming on the show and sharing with us today, talking about our experience with COVID. I hope you enjoyed the segment today. And until next time, I'm Diane Allen, and this is me. If you like today's show, please hit the like button and share it. Also, hit the notification bell for alerts for upcoming segments. And please subscribe to my channel. And feel free to leave a comment about today's show, along with any suggestion and ideas for upcoming shows. This Is Me is on all social platforms. We are also available on most podcast platforms, such as Google, Anchor, Spotify, Overcast, Breaker, and Radio Public. I want to thank you, my viewers and listeners, for tuning in.